On today's weekend edition of Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the series loss to the Mets 2-1, and then we are going to give a little preview of the week one matchup between your Detroit Lions and Green Bay Packers. All that and more next on Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up. Welcome one, welcome all, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up. We have a little weekend edition for you guys for episode 8. Couple things to go over. And then in this first segment, I got a couple loose ends, some news, some headlines that I want to talk about a little bit. But we're gonna get into our board here in a minute. We got obviously our breakdown of the 2-1 series loss against the New York Mets. It's a tough series, but still some a glimmer of hope. Within a series where you let up, almost 30 runs. After that, we are gonna go ahead and take a look at the week one matchup. We got the Green Bay Packers for week one divisional opponent. Awesome to have. Well, maybe not awesome to have a divisional opponent week one, but it makes for some great football, great viewing, and it'll be cool to see both teams relatively healthy facing each other. I feel like here in the black and blue division, the injury reports before a lot of these in division matchups can be pretty lengthy. So, always good to see teams at full strength going against each other. But, anyways, a couple of loose ends that I wanted to talk about. Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith falls out of the fingertips of Brad and Dan and the higher ups in the Detroit Lions organization, and he goes and signs with the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, out of all the places that you could have gone, other than obviously like a Chicago or a Minnesota, dude, Philly. So obviously, you know, Philly, they're right there on the precipice, and Howie Roseman, man, he is a freaking snake in the grass, and that guy, if you're not looking for him, man, he'll catch you off guard, and yeah, he swipes Zadarius Smith from the Lions. He signed a 1-year deal with Philly. You know yesterday, day after the Philadelphia Eagles took down the Cowboys in Week 1 in the season opener for the NFL. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm still kind of coming off of a little bit of a head cold. Um, Total value of the deal is up to $9 million, but only $4.25 million guaranteed. Up to $4 million in performance-based incentives. Um, so yeah, I mean, I I am disappointed that we couldn't re-sign this guy. I'm very disappointed that we couldn't re-sign this guy. And for a team that has around it's floating around $40 million of cap space, um, I don't see why you couldn't get the 1-year deal done, especially when it would have no long-term impact on your books, unless unless you have that Hutch contract loading, and we're gonna get that in the middle of the season, kind of like what happened with the guys like Aleem McNeil and David Montgomery last season, where they were signed right in the middle of the season, but hell, they're good players, so um, they deserved it, and Hutch will obviously deserve it too, but still disappointing nonetheless that we couldn't get it done with Darius Smith. Next, a couple, you know, moves when it comes to the Tigers. Kyle Finnegan put on the 15-day injured list. We'll talk about that a little bit, and when he got injured. But yeah, went down on what was it on Tuesday's game against against the Mets, and losing one of your few reliable relievers in your bullpen, as you know, right now it's tough. It's killer. Yeah, you hope that they, you know, bringing up Kiter Montero can give you somewhat of a reliable arm that can eat up some innings, but uh yeah, Cal Finnegan was um, really starting to impress and come into his own as a Detroit Tiger. And uh, we really saw some great swing and miss and some high velo stuff from him. But unfortunately, with these high velo guys, you know, they get hurt. Usually they blow out something in their arm and their shoulder. But for Kyle Finnegan, he is experiencing pulled groin, so or a pulled groin muscle or a hamstring, you know, something like, you know, in that region. And yeah, it's definitely a not debilitating, but very hard to play through something like that. So hopefully the 15-day rest IR stint is enough for him to get back and healthy. And you know, we can see him maybe once or twice, you know, before we get to playoffs, and just, you know, for the assurance that he is ready for October baseball. Anyways, guys, that's all I have when it comes to some of these loose ends, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into the Tigers series loss right after this. Welcome back to the second segment of Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up. In this segment, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the series against the New York Mets. And you know, without further ado, man, let's just jump right into it. So, game one, uh, you know, Monday, Labor Day, the Tigers lose in a slugfest. You know, bats were hot today, back and forth. Uh, Charlie Morton takes a bump for the Tigers. 3 2/3 of innings pitched, 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, 4 walks. Uh, tough, tough game for Morton. Um, you know, he just didn't have the command over his fastball and the curveball. So unfortunately, he left the, you know, left a couple right over the heart of the plate, and you got one of the best um, you know, lineups when it comes to hitting in all of baseball. So obviously, they're going to make you pay. Um, 8 runs total for the Tigers. Uh, some very aggressive base running. Also, you know, some mistakes. I would say they were probably a little bit too overeager in the latter half of the game. And you know, I just mean by that I mean not taking long counts, swinging early, and just not being patient with your at bats, and that is kind of something that I've noticed the Tigers have been struggling with pretty significantly, you know, all season, and that's one of the biggest reasons why they struggle so much with runners in scoring position and leaving guys on base. Um, Javi's plate approach is brutal. He's making great plays in the outfield, but you know, 25, $26 million a year for defensive specialist outfielder isn't exactly ideal. So you hope that this guy can start making contact again, because having a gaping hole in your starting nine is just not ideal and not conducive to consistent success for these guys, especially when you have days like they had on Tuesday, uh, where they just, you know, they're starting, you know, the heart of their lineup just couldn't get it done. Anyways, um, yeah, like I said, when it comes to pitching, Charlie's changeup and cutter just weren't working today, and Summers was atrocious. I didn't have a lot of hope for him when he was called up. Younger guy, been in the system for a long time, but he's a lefty that can't strike out lefties. So why is he up here? Um, I think his pitching is kind of what deflated the game for the Tigers. Um, like they showed resiliency even after that I'm sorry, Juan Soto grand slam in the bottom of the fourth. Um, you know, Dingler was able to get on base after that, followed by a Z-Mac triple. The Jemai Jones single drives in the fifth run for the Tigers. And bottom of the fifth, Torkin singles apply pressure to the fresh Ryan Stanek. A wild pitch gets torque home, and the Tigers were able to tie up the game 6-6. But then sixth inning, and Summers starts to just get tatted up, man. Soto gets a triple to score Lindor and Torrens. That puts New York up 8-6. Nimmo on a single brings in Soto. New York 9-6, and seventh inning. Um, Gleyber Torres makes an error. Fielding the ball that leads to Luis Angel Acuna. Who's pinch running for McNeil. Um, Immediately steals second. I mean, bro, his name is Luis Angel Acuna. Like he's fast. If he sounds fast. He's really fast. Um and yeah, Torrens sack bunt advances runners, and Brett Beatty deals the final blow in the form of ground out. Um And then after that, yeah, they, a little trickle of hope, but really nothing that they could do. ZMAC RBI single in the bottom of the seventh, and later Wencel Perez ground out scored Jones for the eighth run of the game and the final run of the game. Let's see here. Juan Soto gets his first grand slam, I think they said, of his career, which you might want to check me on that. But I'll check myself on that. But yeah, six RBIs, two home runs. Uh, Great day from Juan Soto. Uh, any day that you get more than 3, 4 RBIs that's a great day. So six of them is nuts. But um yeah, that I remember watching the Grand Slam, and I almost dropped my drink because I was really, obviously, Labor Day. We were having fun, and yeah, I was having a great time. And then I come inside and I peep at the TV, and uh meatball right down the middle, or right, left up top, and Soto crushes it. So, uh, yeah, Tigers were 2 for 14 today with runners in scoring position, and uh, 8 men left on base. Zach McKinstry gets his 11th triple of the season, which is pretty amazing. And oh yeah, to correct myself, um, Juan Soto's got 2 grand slams. He got one in 2023, and the second one was uh, on Monday against the Tigers. Um, Jemai Jones would be my sneaky player of the game for the Tigers. He went 4 for 5, 2 RBIs, 2 runs, 1 homer. Um, and It's something that I'll talk about with my main takeaways for the series. But the depth scoring for the Tigers has been pretty crucial. You have guys like a Wencel Perez, or even now Justin Henry Malloy, who's recently called up, and yeah, and Jemai Jones, even even a Jake Rogers. All these guys are pretty fantastic. when it comes to depth scoring, and it's a luxury that a lot of teams don't have. Um, yeah, some teams have some decent specialists, but um, just the all around depth scoring for the Tigers is pretty uh, it it fills you with a little bit of optimism. Pretty makes me pretty enthusiastic. Um, One quote that I got from AJ Hinch. He said, "I don't think he could throw it anywhere he wanted to. He just ended up spraying it a ton because the fastball wasn't there." End quote. And then quote, Soto is such a hard guy to navigate. First time against a righty, he gets a grand slam. Next time against the lefty, he gets a triple. He walks a couple times, um, which was an end quote, which was a theme today because we ended up walking 7 or 8 guys, hit a couple guys. So, yeah, sloppy bullpen play prevented the hot Tigers bats from getting things done, and Tigers lose 8-10. Um, Anyways, I want to move on to game two. The Tigers lose the rookie pitching duel between Nolan McLean and Sawyer Gibson Long. SGL, who was recently called up, had a pretty rough start. Only 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, and 2 walks, and gave up 2 home runs. So um, you wanted to see something a little bit more out of Gibson Long, but unfortunately, he can't provide. So yeah, tough from him. Um, yeah. Uh, Talking about Nolan McLean. Uh, he's pretty badass, man. He's got a huge arsenal of pitches. This guy has, a lot to choose from, even with, not the, he doesn't have a fastball that'll knock your socks off, but he does have a curveball, slider, knuckle curve, changeup. He's got a lot in the arsenal. Um, Lots of really impressive off speed stuff from him. Um, and yeah, he has 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, gives up no home runs, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts. So yeah, obviously, you know, their best guy, McLean, he's gonna tear us up, especially on a day where we don't have our kind of like full starting lineup out there. We let's see here, resting a couple of guys. Um, Tigers were able to start hot in this game and take advantage of some early mistakes from McLean. Up 2-1 at bottom of the first. Um, from a got a couple base hits with runners in scoring position. Uh, Pretty quiet second, third inning. Going to the fourth, Sean Gibson Long gives up some costly walks at the top of the lineup, and McNeil's single breaks the dam of the Mets hitting. After Mullins sack fly and a Luis Torrens home run, scores 3. That puts New York up 6-2. Pitiful offense from the Tigers for another few innings. That takes us to the seventh. And Chris Paddock comes in, and uh, yeah, he did not have a very good game. Where are we at here? Excuse me. Um, Sorry, my notes might have got a little bit messed up here, but all right. Yeah. Anyways, um, yeah, we head to the seventh inning. Chris Paddock lets up a solo bomb, off of from Juan Soto, followed by another solo home run from the polar bear, and yeah, it keeps coming. And Nimmo singles, Vientos doubles, McNeil singles scores Nimmo and the pinch runner Acuna, and that puts the Mets up 10-2. Beatty's single base hit scores Mullen, and a Lindor sac fly scores Torrens for the Mets' final run. And we get a little bit of juice at the end from the bench guys in garbage time, but the final score is 12-5. So yeah, Pete Alonso had two solo homers this time around. Um, we saw just a rough day from the heart of the lineup. Just all around not great stats from any of these guys really. Dingler pitched in, and Wenzel Perez had a decent game, but overall, you have a game where their bats are hot, yours aren't, and yeah, their stars shone, and ours did not. Um, Dylan Dingler goes 2 for 3 with 0 RBIs and 1 walk. Zach McKinstry 1 for 3, 1 RBI, 1 walk, and Wenzel Perez 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 1 run. Um, yeah, so I would say when everything really kind of went wrong for these guys was probably the fifth and the sixth inning when we really just couldn't get anything done. You know, offensively, um, a lot of quick at bats, and that's terrible. Especially for the heart of the lineup, guys that you expect to be a little bit more experienced, and guys that you expect to have better, at least contact hitting, whatever, at just being better at putting the ball in play in general. And it was a lot of strikeout swinging and swinging, strikeout looking. Um, and as soon as they have those back to back rough innings offensively, here comes Chris Paddock, and now I'm going to take it easy on Chris. Obviously, there has some family stuff going on. He left the team for a extended period of time for bereavement. So prayers with him and his family. Hope he can come back in time and um, be in a better mind space and be more focused. Um, yeah, he just he had, like I said, I went through that seventh inning. That was one of the worst innings I've seen. The Tigers give up all season, and yeah, that's kind of why the score got so quickly out of hand. Um, I got a quote from AJ Hinch. Kind of a blow up day by a couple of pitchers. Try not to make too much out of it. Um, we got to try to salvage the series tomorrow and get ready for the weekend. Quote, I thought he, Sawyer Gibson Long recovered well after giving up the 3-run homer to Alonso. Didn't let him magnify, it's kind of whatever that means. Um, yeah. Overall, brutal stuff from the Tigers on Tuesday, especially. I mean, that was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. Um, they were able to salvage things. Casey Mize had a very quality start on Wednesday for Game 3 of the series. Tigers win 6-2. Uh, So yeah, our starting pitcher here, Casey, 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, only 3 strikeouts and no walks. Even though the strikeout number might look a little bit low, he got a lot of ooh, he got a lot of like ground balls, a lot of playable stuff. So uh, yeah, we finally get a start from Casey Mize that instills a little bit of confidence. which is huge, especially when you know, October looms and, we start thinking about our playoff starting, three starting four, whatever for our pitching rotation. Um, yeah, obviously, the stat card looks a little bit more filled up, so let's talk about it. My first point, hitting. Uh, Top of the order finally decided to wake up, and we got some great days from Keith, Carpenter, Riley, and Torque. Um, did a really good job applying pressure on the starter. 3 walks and 5 hits, and a couple of runs in less than 5 innings isn't bad at all. Green had a roper off of the lefty, so um, you know Riley Green really showing some strength against lefty relievers. You like to see that, having a guy in your lineup that can, still hit off of a lefty specialist is huge for these guys. And not every team is a luxury. Not every team has. Um, Let's see here. Keith and Torque get on base 3 times. Carp has the walk, and then the 3-run homer. Uh, Jake Rogers, he's doing his thing. Shout out to Jake. He gets a couple hits today, on Wednesday. So that was awesome. Um, like I was saying, depth scoring kind of continues to be a strength in the offense. And on a more negative note, I really need to see more from Gleyber Torres and Javi. Every day he's making great defensive plays, but when is that going to start translating over to the other side to his at bats? Uh, we'll see. But yeah, Casey Mize has a decent start, able to keep runs off the board. He has a good command of those low grounders. Coaching staff still pulled him in the in the fifth inning or after the fifth inning. Just I think it's good for him because having Casey Mize go through the murderer's row of this starting lineup for the Mets for a third time is inherently risky. And for as important as the mentality is for pitchers, um, getting a couple of quality starts underneath your belt really to just boost your confidence is I think exactly what Casey needs going into the playoffs. So I agree with this decision from Hinch and Fetter. I saw a lot of people complaining about it, but I would agree with them. Um, Later on, we get uh, we get Tyler Holton. He's also another lefty that isn't good against lefties. I know I said that about Drew Summers, but we don't have any lefties in our bullpen. None of them are effective, and I don't want any of them on on my roster, other than maybe Bailey Horn. I haven't seen enough out of Bailey Horn, but Holton, Summers, waive him, DFA him. I don't give a shit. I don't, and it sucks because we are so short. So obviously I have to deal with it. We all have to deal with it because there's nobody else. But dude, yeah, the terrorist Tyler Holton, lobbing up bombs, and yeah, he almost comes in and blows it. And this game, I thought we were in a really bad spot because after Holton, guess who comes trotting out? Tommy Canley. And Tommy Canley he was put in a really weird spot in this game because he, really is only supposed to be out there for, 1 inning, 3, 4, 5 at bats at most, or, maybe 6. But, We were expecting to see Kyle Finnegan come in as mid relief and kind of shut things down until we got a Will Vest or Rafael Montero in there to totally close the game down. So yeah, Kyle Finnegan while warming up, um, the our one of our pitching coaches notices something isn't right and asks him, "Is he okay?" He says no. He walks out of the, goes down through the door, walks out the dugout and to the bullpen, and walks down to the uh, the clubhouse or the locker room, and never to be seen again. And yeah, like I said in the introduction of the show, he got placed on a 15-day injured list. So we hope that he can get that groin injury figured out and taken care of, because that's not ideal, not having one of your only reliable relief pitchers injured. So tough spot for Detroit, for Detroit's bullpen. Um, but yeah, after Finnegan is hurt, Canley has to stay in for a little bit longer. He figures it out even with two walks and no strikeouts. Um, got some lucky ground balls and a huge double play ground ball off Starling Marte, and I would genuinely say that was the turning point of this game. If it weren't for that big defensive play, I think they just would have started cycling runners again, and yeah, that to to stop the bleeding, or not even to just get out of the jam for Canely. That was huge. A little thirsty. Oopsies. I hate when that happens. Hate having the coaster sticking to the bottom of the glass, man. There's nothing worse. Nothing worse. Even worse, you got a plate of food in front of you, you drop that coaster right in your food. Oh God. Sorry about that. Make sure you guys stay hydrated out there. Um, let's see here. Uh, but yeah, after that, Vest comes in for kind of late relief, which I've I thought was interesting spot for him. He came in, did a good job. Um, I don't, I think he only got one strikeout, but it really didn't matter because the Mets were pretty overeager on the plate today, and wanted to take advantage of a weak bullpen, but just didn't have that the puck luck, you could say. um, yeah. Let's see here. Um, really, when it comes to Detroit's offense, we got some action in the bottom of the second. ZMAC gets a um, single after Torkelson walks, so we got two on base. And Javi Baez gets on base off of a catcher's interference. And so bases loaded. Here comes Jake Rogers. He tattoos the ball for a single blooper to shallow center field and gets the RBI single to score McKinstry. Unfortunately, after that, Cole Keith ground out ends the inning, but that puts the Tigers up 1-0. Right after that, top of the third, um, Pete Alonso gets a RBI doubles on a line drive to center, and that ties the game up. And then we go to top of the fourth. McNeil with a pop fly that had Riley Green running for it and running into the nets and into the stands to make a big catch. Um, that was a cool play. Um, We head to the bottom of the fifth, and Gregory Soto comes in for Clay Holmes for the Mets, and the wild pitch from Soto advances Colt Keith and Kerry Carpenter, who both walked earlier. Um, and a Riley Green single scores Kerry Carpenter, and Tigers up 3-1. And uh, Torkelson strikeout swinging ends the inning. And then we go to the sixth inning. This is where Tyler Holton comes in for Casey Mize. Guy sucks, walks Soto, gives up the single to second, leaves a sinker right down the middle for Nimmo. And Javi luckily was able to make the play in the outfield, and Juan Soto gets to third, and then immediately they take him out, put in Tommy Canley. Gives up the RBI single, line drive to left to score Soto. New York Mets 2-3. Down 1 run. He walks McNeil and gets the clutch ground ball to double play from Starling Marte to keep the Mets at bat. And we go to the bottom of the seventh, and Colt Keith gets a single to center field. Gleyber Torres draws the walk, and then Kerry Carpenter uh, decimates a pitch from, I think it was still Gregory Soto. Yeah, that, like I said, that was a bomb. You love to see it. And that was the final run scored for the game. Not too much other to say, other than, pretty happy with Vest and Rafael Montero. And I thought that they showed some grit, and yeah, we need arms to produce. That's going to be the struggle for the Tigers for the rest of the year, is making sure that we have uh pitchers that can get swing and miss and get guys out. Anyways, next series we have against the White Sox. So they played yesterday. I won't spoil that one. They play today, tonight at 6:20. We got a Tarek Skubal start, and they play tomorrow, Sunday. Charlie Morton will be starting that one. That's weird. I didn't finish writing Morton. Huh. Oops. And yeah. Um, One of our last series against our any of our divisional guys or divisional rivals. So gotta take care of business. Let's get the series win and move on. um just some last minute, just some takeaways. Like I said, excuse me. Depth scoring has been huge for these guys. Um Guys like Jahmai Jones, Wenzel Perez, all now Justin Henry Malloy, who's been pinch hitting. These guys can, they're solid MLB at bat, or bats, and they're not, obviously they're not useless. Defensively either. They can get shit done. So yeah, really happy with what I've seen from the depth scoring, especially when the heart of the lineup can't get things done. Um, Yeah, I mean, I've touched on it a lot already with the bullpen, but we got Kyler Montero recalled from the minors. I think Bailey Horn is another guy recently that got recalled. Obviously, Sawyer Gibson Long, but starting to get very, very, very shallow in the pen. I mean, really, the only reliable guys are Will Vest, maybe Troy Melton, uh, Casey Mize, and Jack Flaherty are both, pretty bipolar when it comes to their performances. And obviously, who does not even need to be named. Tarek Skubal, you mean, best pitcher in baseball. Obviously, he's gonna, you know, get shit taken care of. But yeah, Tigers are really gonna have to do a little bit of soul searching when it comes to the bullpen if they want to make a deep playoff run this year. Anyways, a little bit of a disappointing series in total against the Mets. Really wanted to see how we would stack up against elite hitting, and we didn't fare too well. Uh, After that, Tigers are 80 and 61, still first in the AL Central with I believe, a 10-game lead, 9.5, 10-game lead, and the Mets are 75 and 65, and they are second in the NL East. All right, that'll do it for segment two, our Detroit Tigers series breakdown. In the next segment, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the week one game preview. Detroit Lions at Green Bay. All that and next, right after this. Go back to segment three of Gordie's Detroit Sports Catch Up. Unfortunately, I had to scrap the last recording. It got corrupted, so had to go to work, and here we are. Had to, come back home and finish up this episode for you guys. But anyways, here we are, and in this final segment of the show, I want to go ahead and get into my game preview for Week One. We've got the Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers. So, really excited for this one. Obviously, big NFC North matchup here. Lions really, want to set the tone week one. And, these divisional games are, so important when it comes to, playoff seeding. And especially in a division where there are so many playoff hopeful teams, every win that you can get in division is crucial. So, yeah, the Packers are finally trying to get a win at home against the Lions. It's been a few years, and I know there's definitely got to be a little bit of a sour taste left in the mouths of Packers fans because seeing their home team getting stunk out, and it's bittersweet because they've also had a decent record at Ford Field, in the past too. So as a Lions fan, seeing that loss against them on Thanksgiving, that was tough, and there's a good chance that they, repeat that this year. But, we'll get into that. Firstly, I want to take a look at the Detroit Lions. So let's get into the offense because there's only a few things that I really feel the need to get into in depth because there's so many proven talented guys on this roster to where it instills me with a lot of confidence. And hey, you guys know what's going on. So yeah, anyways, I want to pull up, I got some news coming up that actually is pretty relevant to what is going on. So yeah, we got some major news. This is breaking news. I want to get into this actually before we even start this. The Lions reach a 3-year, $83 million contract extension with Jameson Williams. It's $67 million guaranteed, and yeah, dude, shout out to NFL insider Jordan Schultz, who got the breaking scoop on that. Man, I'm very high on Jameson Williams. So to have a game changing weapon like that locked up for the foreseeable future, I see why we didn't want to sign Z. We still got to pay Hutch too. So and there have been rumors that um the contract talks are beginning for Aiden Hutchinson between his agents and the front office of Detroit. So a lot of interesting contract news happening, all very, very recently. But yeah. So firstly, like I said, I want to get into the Lions offense. And first thing that I really want to take a look at is, oops, uh, is the interior offensive line. So that's also one of my bigger questions when it comes to the Lions, and something that I think the Packers are going to, excuse me, they're going to try to exploit. Excuse me. So let's talk about the most experienced guy in the bunch first. I want to talk about Graham Glasgow. So Graham Glasgow last season played right guard, played in between Frank and and Panay, and he will be making the switch back to center. He he can play both positions very effectively, so I don't have too many concerns about our guy Graham Glasgow, University of Michigan alumni, and originally a Lions draft pick. So yeah, and you know some people had have trepidations with Graham Glasgow coming into this season with how he performed against Washington in the divisional round. And I do remind people he was hurt in that game. He was, he was. I think he had some lower body ailment that he was playing through. So, uh, you know, I can't blame him necessarily for everything that went wrong in that game. Washington did have a really good, interior, pass rush up the middle. So, uh, unfortunately, he made a couple bad plays, and when you're on an offensive line, just naturally, that's kind of how it is. Those kind of things tend to get highlighted, and your good plays tend to get kind of lost in the wash. But anyways, Graham Glasgow, I am supremely confident that he can do a really good job. Another thing that I want to talk about, Jared Goff last season, he had one perfect game, and I believe that was week 8 or week 9 against the, or it might have been earlier than that. But uh, anyways, he Jared Goff had a perfect game where he was 18 for 18 with 292 yards, one passing touchdown, and one receiving touchdown, which was that was a lot of fun to see. But you want to know who his center was for that game when Graham Glasgow, or when excuse me, retired center Frank Ragnow was hurt? Graham Glasgow. He filled in just fine, and I believe in the already developed relationship and chemistry between Jared and Graham Glasgow. I think that the communication between those two are is something that we're not going to have to worry about too much this season. I don't expect a guy like Graham to have a lot of miscues. If anything, it will more likely than not come from the two guards on either side of him. Um, First of it, which I would like to talk about the rookie Tate Ratledge. So Tate was drafted in the 57th pick in the second round this year in the NFL draft, and he will be filling in the role previously taken up by Graham Glasgow, that right guard spot. Listen, he's going to be between Graham and Panay, especially being next to Panay. He's got a lot to learn, but no better teacher than the guy that's right next to him, who is, in my opinion, the best offensive lineman in the entire NFL. So yeah, I'm really high on Tate Ratledge's ability to get better every week. It was about a week ago. There was a little snippet that I heard from Dan Campbell when he was asked about Tate Ratledge in a press conference, and he said, "quote He's not coming off the field." So that's awesome. You love to hear that, because that means that he's already done so well in camp, done so well, in the limited run that he had in preseason, as well as joint practices and all that, that he has, without a doubt, taken that guard position. And he's not the only rookie on this team to take over a position that we previously didn't expect to be so immediately and uh, shockingly, I guess, filled by a rookie. But hey, here we are. We're running into the season with a couple rookies in starting spot, and we're used to that. Obviously, we have a fantastic history as a franchise of, or at least as a organization with this current management of drafting. So, proven Brad Holmes and this front office have proven to be one of the best scouting departments and just drafters in general. Um, and that's why they were able to so easily spot a guy like Tate Ratledge, whose RAS score was off the charts, one of the most athletic guys when it comes to his performance at the combine. Like I said, his RAS score in college, and just the film pops. You know what I mean? When you see him going downhill with combo block, or getting up to the next level, he is nasty. He is not afraid, to punch a guy in the mouth and hold out that block. And the run you know blocking game is really what I think that they got him for. That's going to be his bread and butter, and that's perfect for what this team intends to do. Um, Give me 1 second here. Damn coaster. Yeah, stay hydrated. um, and then at the left guard spot, we have my guy Christian Mahogany, the dirtbag. Self-titled. All right, don't come at me, bro. Um, Selected in the sixth round, 210th overall in the 2024 NFL Draft. He started Week 15 against the Bears after Kevin Zeitler went down, and kind of never looked back. After that, he continued to put together solid start after solid start, and probably had his best game in the divisional round of the playoff, even though, you know, um, the other side, of the interior offensive line might not have been holding up so well. But he definitely held his own in that game. And I think, he's proven to be so valuable in pass pro that there's room to work when it comes to the run game, and it's the same thing with Tate. There's room to work when it comes to pass pro and him, moving laterally, moving backwards. But supremely confident in both these guys to, um, if not right away, get the ball rolling and then and be quality starters, definitely quality starters week one, and really, uh, you know, put themselves in a position of success like the Detroit Lions are used to having in this position group. Um, I don't really have to talk too much about our tackles. Our 10-year vet, Taylor Decker at left tackle, Ohio State alum, drafted back in 2015. Uh, hell of a tackle. He's been one of the most reliable guys day in day out for the Detroit Lions. Um, last couple of years, maybe as he started to get a little bit older, we've seen some injuries crop up with him, but that's kind of to be expected of a offensive lineman, with his experience and with his age. Um, Taylor Decker does definitely have his hands full in this game, and I think he usually does get picked on by the opposing coaches and their schemes. They'll try to line up their better pass rusher away from Panay because you know that naturally they want to give their guy the best shot, but the Lions they're ready for that, and I think their game plan is able to be constantly kind of one step ahead of some of the more subpar coaches in the NFL and even some of the best. So, anyways, at the other tackle spot at right tackle we have Panay Sewell, the man, best offensive lineman in the NFL. I not much else I have to say. Um, I don't want to hear you damn Packers fans saying that your boy Zach Tom is a better tackle because he has a better PFF score last season. Shut the hell up. You aren't serious. Stop talking. Do you hear what you're saying? Zach Tom is better than Panay Sewell. Zach Tom is a new kid on the block still. We don't really necessarily know with Zach Tom. We've seen some great stuff in the past pro, but run game is, left, leaves some to be desired. But Panay? Bro, year one, we saw this guy manhandle Bosa. We saw him go toe to toe with the best defensive player of our generation and Aaron Donald. We watched this guy, put Micah Parsons in a phone booth. What makes you think that anybody else for that matter can stand with Panay Sewell? The only guy that I would even consider would be Tristan Wirfs because he's also pretty goddamn good. Uh, you know, you can maybe start to argue Slater or we'll see how Joe Alt is, but Zach Tom is not nearly at that caliber of player yet. Anyways, I don't mean to dunk on Zach Tom. I got really pissed off when people tried to say that Zach Tom is comparable to Penny Sewell because he's not. Anyways, excuse me. So let's see here. I want to move on to Sam Laporta, tight end, entering his third year as a Detroit Lion, and finally entering. He's entering this season healthy. I think last season he kind of came into the year with an ailment and or at least was banged up early and kind of never got fully healthy throughout the season. Definitely kind of forced it, but really excited to see what he can add to this offense. I think that is honestly one thing that the offense was missing a little bit last year was Sam Laporta's offensive capabilities. I don't know if Johnny Morton is going to utilize him in the tight ends as heavily as Ben Johnson and previously Rantuan and Randall L and like some of these other coaches like too, but um, with Hank Fraley being the run game coordinator, he is going to get a hell of a lot of usage with Sam Laporta and Brock Wright or maybe Shane Zylstra for that matter. But I don't know if Shane Zylstra's still on the team. I would have to look at the depth chart. But yeah, solid tight ends for the Detroit Lions and other skill position players. I want to talk about Jared Goff. Uh, Not much to say about Jared, man. Hold on, let me grab this one. Yeah, maybe got rid of that a little bit prematurely, but anyways, yeah, Jared Goff comes into game one of his eighth season in the league and his fifth as a Detroit Lion. He was second in touchdown passes with 37 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. He threw a perfect game against Seattle where he went 18 for 18. Like I said, earlier, he 292 yards, one passing touchdown and reception off the trick play. I'm really curious to see if Johnny Morton is gonna use as much of the RPO and heavy utilization of motions and sweeps because I think, especially when it comes to the RPO, that is where Jared Goff shines. He is one of the most cerebral quarterbacks in all of football. And you know, hot take, but if he is able to perform at this level where he's uh second in touchdown passes and third and or fourth and total passing yards, if he's top five in both those stats year in and year out, which he already has been for like the past 3 seasons, he can continue to do that for a few more and maybe put a ring on top of that. He will be regarded as one of the you know one of the better quarterbacks of this generation, definitely. But I would say you put in the same conversation as uh, uh an Eli Manning, a Drew Brees, uh, better than a Ben Roethlisberger, on the same level as like a Matthew Stafford. You know that ring really is all Jared would need to firmly establish himself as one of the best quarterbacks of this generation. Anyways, uh, that's all I have about Jared Goff. Um, Jameson Williams, like I said earlier, I touched on, just got a huge contract extension. So shout out to him. That is, 67 million guaranteed. Um, so awesome for him, man. Really happy for him. Um, about what would that be? About 21, 22 million dollars guaranteed, per season. I would be curious to see on the cap table how it's actually, parsed out and, the hit per year. But um yeah, last season was his first season, to reach 1,000 yards in his first season, fully healthy. So, um, sky's the limit for Jameson Williams, and he really is one of those game breakers that Detroit is very lucky to have. Um, talk about Amon St. Brown for just a moment. Um, Amon Ra is going to get his. There's really nothing you can do about it. He is an inevitability. Whether he goes for, you know, 53 yards and, gets a couple first downs, those first downs are going to be in the most clutch moments, at the perfect timing to put your team, put the Detroit Lions within a position to, go and do something. But in a good game, he'll have 2 touchdowns. He's doing flips and dancing in the end zone, and is just dinking and dunking all over the field with 10, 15, even a little 5 intermediate routes. Uh, so yeah, um, he hasn't actually been the best against Green Bay. They Xavier McKinney and, some of these linebackers have been able to do a pretty decent job of containing him. But, you contain him, you got, 3, 4 other weapons that you have to worry about. 2 of those weapons that I want to talk about, Sonic and Knuckles, man. Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery. They entered their 3rd year as a duo, and expectations are higher than they've ever been. David Montgomery battled injury last year with a MCL sprain in Week 15 against the Buffalo Bills. Uh, that sucked, but um, this guy was lights out when healthy. One of the angriest runners in all of the league. He puts his head down and he goes, and that's my kind of guy. I have told you guys before, I love the 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of offense. Just jam the ball down the throat of the defensive line. That's that's my kind of football. I love that. So yeah, David Montgomery, big fan of the meat hamster, David Montgomery, and maybe not a meat hamster, but what is he? A hedgehog, Sonic, our guy, uh, Jameer Gibbs, really really high on Jameer Gibbs. I feel like I'm saying that about a lot of guys on this offense, but it's true because this is probably, in my opinion, this is the most complete offense in the entire league. Especially, when it comes to weapons, really the only question is the interior offensive line. So, uh, eh, you know, any defense will have their hands full. Um, with these guys, you have all pros at every position, basically. Um, I think that Jameer Gibbs going to be all pro again for sure. I think he's going to uh, pretty easily get the nod for, or not easily, but be in the consideration for offensive player of the year. And let's see here. I think I have his stats. Um, he had 250 attempts for 1,412 rushing yards, and he had 517 receiving yards, 20 total touchdowns. I definitely expect him to get a touchdown on Sunday. And I think he and David too are going to gash and slash and tear up the Packers defensive line. All right. Isaac Tesla, new addition. We'll see what he can offer. I don't think that the Lions are going to necessarily go out of their way to draw up plays for him unless formation you know and context of the situation dictates it. But he's definitely a guy that can make a difference on a second third read for Jared. He beats his man, gets open, jump 50-50 ball. He's the big outside receiver that can come down with those. So yeah, really excited to see if he just gets involved in general, and if so, um, to what extent and how really are they going to utilize him. Um, so let's move on to the other side of the ball and talk about the defense. And first things first, let's a couple statistic wise, they were seventh in points allowed and seventh in EPA per play. They unfortunately lost Carlton Davis and Zadarius Smith in the offseason. Ali McNeil is out for the foreseeable future until probably week 13, week 12, or Thanksgiving time frame, that around November, December. And Levi Anzarike hurt in the offseason, and he is shut down for the year. So a little bit thin at the pass rusher spot, but there's still guys out there. You could still go out and get a Matthew Judon if you really wanted to, but it might not be necessary. Looking at this team, it really might not be necessary. Mainly because of this guy right here, Aiden Hutchinson, number 97, coming back from the dead, Terminator with the robot leg. uh, Yeah, he's coming back from a broken leg he suffered in Week 5 against the Dallas Cowboys when he collided with Aleem McNeil's big ass tree stump of a leg, and snapped his tibia and fibula. It was a clean break, so it didn't really affect nerves and stuff, and he was able to make a full comeback. And excuse me. And any questions when it comes to injury wise, I think all of those questions are just they're going to be totally shut down. Um, this Sunday, tomorrow afternoon against the Green Bay Packers, because I think this guy's going to be shot out of a cannon. I expect a sack and a half. I think he'll get double digit pressures. Um, Really, the sky's the limit on Aiden Hutchinson this year. This guy could be a defensive player of the year. This guy could set the sack record. He'll probably set I think it's a safe bet he'll set the sack record for the Detroit Lions, but uh, and I'm talking NFL in general, which I believe it's Michael Strahan with 24, which it sounds insane, but He could definitely do it, and if not, then he could probably beat T.J. Watt's second place record in 2021 with 21 sacks. I think he can get 22, 23 sacks. Um, I think he can get 25 sacks. Like I said, the sky is the limit for this guy, and he's another guy on this team that has game wrecking ability. He can shut down a drive single handedly. We've seen him pick the ball off. We've seen him, you know, tackle, two guys into each other with, grab one guy, use him to tackle, his teammate. We just freak athletic ability and um, God, I'm just thinking about it. I have hairs standing up on end. I have goosebumps thinking about how amazing